Now going to question 20, start with the prompt. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? In other words, this is a grammar question. And let's start reading. Latin America is known to have dozens, if not hundreds, of popular dance forms. Only 5 of these dances are included in international ballroom dance competitions. However, rumba, samba, this one, and jive, the last of which is grouped with other Latin dances despite not having Latin roots. So there's some really interesting special punctuation stuff going on here. Here are our rules for the semicolon, colon, and long dash. For the colon, the first part has to be an independent clause, and the second part is anything that describes the first part. So, in a way that's going on here, in orange, we have an independent clause, something that could be its own sentence. And then in pink, we have a description of that independent clause. So most colon situations would have a period right here, and we'd be done. But let's quickly talk about the definition for a long dash. For a long dash, one long dash is a colon, and two is a set of parentheses. So if we think of this one right here as another colon, well, that's kind of weird. Generally, you don't want to have two colons in a sentence. And to be honest, we can't think of a lot of other examples that follow this format. This is kind of a very unique question, an exception to the rule. But then again, if you're someone who's really trying hard and really, really prepping for your next digital SAT, this is exactly that weird question you need to know about. So think of this as our colon definition. The first part is an independent clause. The second part is describing the first part. But once we go ahead and say that that is a perfect colon situation, in other words, that's a complete sentence, and we can almost have a colon within a colon, because now we can take that part I just circled and say, okay, well, that is a complete sentence, which is what an independent clause is. And the second part is describing the first part. So if a colon is tacking on a description to the first part, then we kind of have that happening once. It creates a new group, and then we have it happening again in green, describing the second group. And so the last of which is grouped with the other dances despite not having Latin roots. That's kind of just describing what we were just talking about, which is jive. So think of this as a colon within a colon, and the long dash kind of enabling that for this very unique situation. And all of this allows this colon to be correct. Now, another reason that we need to think of this colon as correct is that the however, that's just a middle modifier. It's like a little description in the middle that if it were deleted, everything else around it kind of works. And we see a lot of little middle modifiers for the word however, particularly just before the semicolon or colon. Another important thing to point out here is that that word however, it has to go with this part of the sentence. Because if it goes with this part of the sentence, which is what D is suggesting, the logic of the sentence won't make sense, because we're seeing that only 5 of these dances are included in ballroom dance. However, rumba, salsa, cha-cha-cha, whatever. So attaching the however to the second part says that the second part is opposite of the first part, which is not, and it would create a major problem. So you want to kind of think about that situation, because we see that coming up a lot on these SAT grammar questions. But the answer here is A.